What's up, boys and girls? This is your guy Radical. This is my first ever solo podcast, which I'm starting, called Behind the Creator. Most podcasts, especially, being in the N10 podcast, they always have this long ass intro, and then the poor guest just sits there and they're like, can we just start talking? So I don't want to just be here for 10 minutes explaining how this whole podcast is gonna work while my guest sits here and gets cold and bored. My guest is a longtime friend, someone he's already checking his watch. I'm just wasting his time. My guest is someone that I've done plenty of collabs with on both of our channels. We have been OGs in something called N10, which go find out and learn about that, elsewhere. Incredible community. But we've done so much together. My boy Linktree, aka Aiden, if you don't mind me using the first name on a podcast like this. How this podcast is going to go. This is the pilot. You were the first man I wanted to bring on. We have a long tenured history. I want to learn about, everything behind the creator. People know Linktree, but I got the privilege of learning about Aiden. And I want to be able to kind of share as much public detail as you want about Aiden. Yeah. Not social security or anything like that. But, some dreams, aspirations, life perspective, and some deep talk.
No, for sure, man.
So welcome on. Thank you for being the first guest.
Thank you for having me. That was definitely some YouTuber opening type shit.
I try to avoid it, but at the end of the day,
I mean, it's the first episode. I'm just giving you shit. No, thanks for having me on, man. Obviously, we love talking. We've been talking for years. So let's get some views out of it. Am I right?
Let's do it. So I did warn you ahead of time before we were starting. I am a mixed person myself with a little bit of Canadian blood. Mm-hmm. And as a fellow Canadian, since I know all about that Canadian culture.
Yeah, so much.
I just had to fire off the first question of this podcast series with a question about just like Canada. Like, I feel like recently I've had such a interest in like international travel and just different perspectives and people with different backgrounds. How has it been being a Canadian content creator, coming from Canada, growing up in Canada? How has that shaped you? What are some pros, some cons, like opportunities? Like, I know I just threw a lot out there, but just Canada. Let's hear some of it.
I mean, Canada is a very different country. It's such a young country. That's, I think, something that a lot of people forget. It only celebrated 100 years. Like, I think it was like 2017, 2018 that it only celebrated 100 years. It's a very young country. I think, like, growing up in Canada, like, and visiting the States for you guys, and often, like, I'm so enamored by cities like Philadelphia and Boston and Chicago. They have so much, even Seattle, which is a young American city, mm-hmm. has so much more of a richer history and culture behind it. So I think that aspect of it is a struggle, and I think that's where it's like, I think it's actually pushed me to get out of Canada. But growing up in Canada, I grew up in a small town, so I don't really get I wouldn't say like the true Canadian city, but living in a major Canadian city now for 3 years now has really opened up my mind and like diversified my mind a lot. Canada is truly a melting pot of everybody. We have a huge, vast difference of cultures in Calgary, which is incredible. I love seeing that even in Calgary, let alone other Canadian cities. Toronto is like the true melting pot, which is somewhere I've never really visited except for its terrible airport.
And we said this off podcast earlier, but you said like that's the closest you're gonna get to like an American city in Canada.
Yeah, like Toronto is like everything I know about Toronto and like everything I've seen, like it's so like you're so close to the border. It's so, I feel like, affected by like your Eastern American cities, your Bostons, your Chicagos, your New Yorks even. Yeah. Like being like it's practically the border between Buffalo to Ontario, Canada, like is nothing. Like I think you're 40 minutes away upstate New York. Like you're practically in Toronto, and I think like a part of that bleeds down. What I like would truly define as Canadian culture has become very blurred as we're constantly being affected by American culture. Like growing up, knowing you guys, like I met N10 when I was 15, and like I've been hanging out with you guys. I'm now 20. Like,
Yeah.
I've also been
seen him grow up
exposed.
through some of the most important stages in life. For
Yeah,
sure.
like in high school all the way through college, and now like a professional in industry. But like seeing that, like I don't actually think there's a huge difference between our borders. Like it's a pretty narrow line, especially when you look at a city like Toronto. That line gets blurred very quickly between Canada and America. And like there's things where I'm like you don't, you go to a separate store to buy alcohol. You don't go to the grocery store you don't get alcohol anyway. Like it's a separate store. And just stuff like that. Like there's so many things where like it's such a simple thing, but it's like why is it this way? But
it's a culture shock.
it definitely is. Like
Yeah.
But I grew up visiting the States often. Like our summer was spent down in America, in Montana, which is a very interesting state. Like growing up, I go, oh, this was all weird. This is all really weird stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that guy just was open carrying a gun. Like that was on his
Welcome
side.
to America.
America.
Yep.
But no, I love growing up in Canada. I think it's a really great country. I think genuinely it isn't a stereotype that people are really kind in Canada. I think like I have like a sense of mannerism. Like I think that isn't in the States. Like I'm walking around Seattle like a week ago and I'm like, sorry, excuse me. And I'm getting this.
Yeah. Just
It's like, and it's like,
American.
it's just, and like in Canada, like, and like it's becoming less of a thing. Like, the positive culture is shifting away. People have become a little more negative, but like, I think it's like, that's definitely a big thing. But like, other than that, like, I think like, especially growing up, like, ages 15 to 20 is pretty important to be hanging around with a mostly American group of friends. Like those are some important growing years to have a lot of impact from American culture. So like I definitely, me especially, don't think there's much of a difference. Like obviously we communicate using the same language. I'll get a little bit of shit here and there for a sorry and a boot, but but like we're saying the same things pretty much. Yeah. So it's I think the culture is very much they're pretty connected like that way.
And then for you, where we've shared a very similar path, you know, with the pursuit of film and content creation and whatnot. I feel like I've always talked about kind of how my path has been in like Boston and America, but how has that path been for you in Canada? Do you feel like you're limited by opportunities? You're getting them? Like you obviously went to a city for school and for opportunities from there, but explain that.
I grew up small town, so my opportunities have always been limited. So much so small town, I went home for a summer to work, and my opportunity was at a coal mine, which I'm sure some of you have heard about. I worked at a coal mine for a summer, which is like, what? Like, why? Like, it's crazy. Like, I tell people that, and they're like, what the hell? I mean, but yeah, so I moved to Calgary. I went to school. It was a 2-year program for film and video production, and that has fed me straight into industry. I've had opportunities. I've worked on a feature film. I've worked on a major major network television show, The Amazing Race Canada. If you watch, I'm in an episode, the first of the latest season. I'm in the first episode of the latest season. I can talk about that. It's out now.
There you go.
And like, yeah, I worked on a feature film, and it was interesting. It was a pretty low budget feature, but it was good. But yeah, like that path through film school, I know you went to like university, so like it was a way longer. For me, it was 2 years. Those 2 years went by like nothing, and I'm now working. And it's an interesting industry to work in, but definitely I do feel limited. Like I think Canada, Calgary especially, has less opportunity. It's a really, really narrowly competitive city. I am very fortunate to be working in a video production company, especially full time. That's awesome. Like, and I've gotten to work on some pretty cool projects and have been traveling for work a little bit here and there within Canada. But yeah, like I definitely want to, I think at some point or another want to go outside of that and work in Vancouver. Even has so much more opportunity. But when you think film, especially American film, Canadian film, like Canadian doesn't have many major broadcast hits. Like we're not Canadian movies, Canadian television isn't really a thing because we're practically a shared border. Our production companies and crews and actors they're shared. Same with our music industry, right? Like, you think
Yeah,
of like
music, sports, like there's a lot of carryover in a lot of different industries.
But think about something like this. Like, I think, for instance, I think this is kind of a great example. You have your Justin Bieber, you have your Drake, you have your Ryan Reynolds. Do you immediately go, they're Canadian? No, because they live in America. They are so deep now in American culture, because guess what? To some degree, and especially in the entertainment industry, now I don't know about in a general sense of America being the land of opportunity, but when it comes to film and entertainment, that still stands. There is the domination of the industry and how much control, like America, LA, New York, like Hollywood. Hollywood is still a thing. There is no Canadian Hollywood. The closest we have is Vancouver, which has produced major shows and stuff, but that gets handled in post and by production. It's more just shot there. It's a more location to be on. Because it's cheaper to shoot in Vancouver than it is Seattle. So like,
and I mean, you guys have the scenery. You just have the woods, the forest,
the mountains,
exactly,
the lakes, the rivers. Canada is a gorgeous, gorgeous country. I'm so blessed that I grew up, my backyard being the mountains and lakes, gorgeous lakes that people would drive and travel countries to see.
And you had that right at your disposal.
And it was right there. And like, even now, Calgary has incredible scenery. If you watch The Last of Us, like, and you went, damn, that was gorgeous. That's all Calgary. Like, that's all the greater Alberta area, which has amazing rolling prairies, scenery, the foothills. Like, it's gorgeous land. And like, I know for the second game that's set in Seattle, they're definitely going to stage Vancouver for Seattle. Like, that's definitely what's happening. The mountains, the scenery there as well, and by the ocean, the West Coast, that's going to be the same. But yeah, like, I think as far as like opportunities, like, I've always had it in my head that one day I'm just going to be in America. Like, there's a point where my arm's going to get twisted enough. Like, I don't get to live in Canada forever. Like, I think I have to cross that border, open that mind to dual citizenship, or if I'm not, I'm flying to America every other weekend.
Yeah. I guess that does kind of lead into my next question, which was going to be, you mentioned someone like Drake earlier, coming from Toronto, like, and he clearly won in life. Like, he figured it out, became a celebrity, huge in America. Not trying to compare as if, like, you're going to become the next Drake. But do you also feel like you've had that sense of, like, the American dream since you were young, or even now?
Oh, for sure.
Like, as you get older, like, do you feel like America is where you just have to be, which is what you were kind of alluding at?
Yeah, like I said, like, film exists so much more in America, and like, okay, for instance, The Last of Us, they filmed it in Calgary. That was a huge thing for Canadian and like Calgary, like, film people. Like, that was a huge opportunity for film in Calgary. I'm an editor. I want to be an editor. Pride and true, like, that's my dream. I would love to be editing feature films or just editing full time. Now, they didn't cut The Last of Us in Calgary. They took that footage straight back to HBO in Los Angeles. And it's like, where's my fucking job? Like, it's like, where's my job? Like, I don't get a job because of that. So it went straight back to LA. So it's like, I have to, there's an ounce of it coming to Canada and not all of it, right? And like, I know that happens with other productions. Like, I think a lot of the CW shows were filmed. You got your Riverdale, your Flash, the Arrow, very much Vancouver based. I think they were still edited in like Los Angeles and stuff. So it's like, I think there's like definitely like I have to go to pursue. And like, I'm not a closed-minded person. I have traveled so much to the States. I've been to Chicago, Boston, Seattle, California, and like, that's all in just a short span of my life. And I make it a mission to travel somewhere every year, and just like hop on a plane and go somewhere. And like, I've done that consistently for quite some time, and I love it. Like, I have been to some amazing parts of the States. Like, I love my time in Philadelphia. I love visiting Boston. I think it's a great city. I like Chicago. I want to see a lot more of it. And Seattle, I've been to twice now. Absolutely love it. Like, especially the Seattle area. Like, it's definitely something I have a lot of mind for. Like, I've been to Seattle twice, and both visits I have met people who have worked in the gaming and like major media industry.
Yeah, for sure. 1 second. I think we froze. R.I.P. Linktree. I'm gonna edit it.
I'm right
there
here.
We go.
My camera is just.
He's coming back. He's coming back. Maybe.
All right. While this is being weird, I'll just switch to this.
There you go. Welcome back.
This is not a 4K camera.
The film student. It's eating away. It's just not the good quality.
Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
This is what happens, guys. Like, when you go to film school, you can't watch movies the same. You can't even just set up a simple webcam. Everything has to be perfect. You're analyzing every shot.
Jesus.
That's just how it goes.
It is how it goes. I'm figuring out. I promise.
No, that's all good.
Oh, whatever. I'll leave it like this for now. But yeah, like, I think when it comes to, like, just anything, like, video production-wise, like, you can't be just in Canada. Like, I think you have to be that willingness to travel, and, like, I think I'm fine with that. I love traveling. I love hopping on a plane. I love seeing something new. I think the States has a great, like, just great scenery. There's things to see there. I think it obviously doesn't compare in certain ways to Canada, but growing up in the mountains, it's fine. I'm fine with just living by an ocean with some cityscapes. I love the city. I'm a city boy. Like, that definitely came about at a certain point, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be in the city for the rest of my life for sure. Like, I really do enjoy the city, so.
So it wouldn't necessarily matter what city as long as it's a city.
Yeah, I definitely know just, like, the way I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
I want that city life.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether it be in California, whether it be in Boston, whether it be in Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm down for it. I don't know why this is broken now.
Rest in peace to the webcam, man.
That's so annoying.
Rest in peace.
That's so annoying.
He had set this up too, guys, before the podcast. I was like, yo, you're onboard webcam, whatever it is. Like, it looks pretty good. He's like, nah, I need to be in the best quality. And now here we are, man.
Now it's
just suffering.
Playing with me. Jerking my chain like a little fool.
Ouch. Well, I think as you were talking about that you've seen so much of the States, I feel like that's good that you've kind of experienced the East Coast, the West Coast, and like obviously with Chicago being like the Midwest, I believe is what we call it. Mm-hmm. You've seen it all. You've seen the opportunities, like you said, when you went to Seattle. Like, it was just multiple times you met game developers, film people. Same when you came to Boston for PAX East. Like, you're constantly surrounded by other content creators, other game developers, etc.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Canada is ever going to, probably not to that same level, but they have that kind of presence?
I don't think to that level. Like, I just don't see it. I think, like, with Canada, like, you're not as close to everything as you would want to be.
Yeah.
And I think just such a foundation in Los Angeles and Hollywood for film and stuff. Like, you watch anything about, like, the start of film and whatnot, like, that's all it is. It's all, it's Hollywood, Los Angeles, like.
Yeah.
I think, especially when it comes to film and YouTube, it's even the same. Now, I think there's, like, a little bit more of a basis for, like, streamers and YouTubers now out of, like, Texas. Weirdly
Texas is
enough,
getting big, yeah.
Which is weird. I keep hearing this. Like, I keep following streamers and stuff. They're like, yeah, we're out of Texas now. It's like, why? Like, what's in Texas? But I guess that's maybe the American dream. Yahoo!
In Texas.
Texas. You gonna move to Texas? Is that your?
No, I'm not a. I mean, I was there for Retropalooza. Not a fan of the South. That's a personal preference.
So,
but
I guess this is.
You gotta get down there.
I guess, like, this is a discussion, like, more like, I guess, like, just opening the discussion because I think it's an interesting topic. Where it's like someone who's worked in film and that crossover between YouTube. Like, obviously, we're watching something like TikTok, just completely take over. Like, TikTok has such a grasp on media nowadays. I think, like, there's also, like, the joke, it's like it's ruining our attention spans because everyone has TikTok brain. Everyone, like, thinks.
People just want their short form content. That's why even YouTube got the shorts and Instagram got the reels. Like, everything's all about, like, a minute and swipe up, you know?
Yeah. How do you think
Go
that
ahead.
crosses over? Like, how do you feel like in our industry in film, but also our knowledge in YouTube? Like, do you see yourself in like in TV, broadcast, film world forever, or do you think that that world transforms and becomes like TikTok, YouTube? Because I'm watching a stream today, a YouTube stream, like highlights from a stream.
Yeah.
A 12-hour stream, 7-day production. It's a week-long production, 12 hours a day, road trip in Japan. Like, that's a bunch of content creators. They have professional camera operators, sound people, like the whole works, and a team managing a live stream while they're doing things traveling Japan. That is an insane production for a YouTuber. And like, but it's like, that's an opportunity that we are capable of with our knowledge. Like, that's like, and that was kind of a lot of a thought that I've had recently. It's like, I would do that. I would edit for YouTubers.
Yeah. No, I think that's the cool thing, at least for me, is like, you know, just recently I just gone on like a work trip for my sports broadcast job. Like, there's so many cool opportunities in our industry, and that's why, at least for me, I knew pretty early on, like in high school, like I'm a creative person. I want to get out there. I want to make videos. I want to work in that industry. I want to be in live TV. I want to work on a movie. Like, and then YouTube has always just gone hand in hand for me, because that's the perfect hobby, perfect platform to continue to be creative and do additional video projects and whatnot. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, even and then just being in the industry, and like you said, like crazy opportunities like international travel and whatnot, it's very possible with, you know, film jobs and being in the industry. And that actually is a perfect bridge, because one of the other questions I really wanted to ask was, how did you know this was kind of the life path you wanted to take in terms of a career doing YouTube? Like, where did it all start? How did it fester? How did the passion form? Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up starting doing YouTube. Like, that's like, I was like, oh god, I was so young. Like, YouTube was
Nintendo 3DS
was
Battlers.
booming. Oh, it started even before that. There's Nerf Agent Linktree 33. That's how it really started. And so like, I've been doing YouTube forever. Like, that innate sense to pick up a camera, record something, and then edit it. And that's how I really knew I liked editing, was I would shoot all these things with my friends growing up, and I was like, oh, like, I love editing. Like, I actually really think this is so cool to make something and then bring it all together. And that's how I really got into editing. And then as far as like continuing, I was like into the film world. It's just, that's where it kept me. I kept making content. I thought it was so fun. I think that's like one of the most important things. Like, I think that's why anyone can be a YouTuber, because like, and why I kept being a YouTuber is because I grew up with Nintendo and all these games that meant so much to me. They're so important to who I am and who I became. Like, so many core memories and like such an impact on my life. It's a practical, like, a part of my life. Like, I can't imagine without it. And I just wanted to share that passion and express myself, like, with Nintendo and with gaming and with content through that. I was like, this is like almost what I was meant to be doing. Like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to share these passions, talk about all these things. Like, I think when it comes to video creation, like, I think it's one of the most beautiful things that I can turn on my camera and talk about Mother, a game series that not many people know about, or even just have a video of me screaming like a child over the announcement to Xenoblade 3. Like, that's like, I think that's such an incredible thing. Like, I think like, and then growing up, right, a gamer, like, I think everyone has experienced this in some way. Like, oh, like, you play games, leveled either to bullying, even as far as that. But I think like, it's like, the YouTube, the internet has become a safe place where you can just, I like what I like, and I don't care. Yeah. Like, I can express myself freely. Like, you're never always going to be in a situation where you can meet someone with with the same interests. Whereas the internet, there's always those people. They are always there, and they're honestly searching for you because they had the same mind of, I care about this thing so much, and I want to share my passions. And I think that's where it all comes from anyways. Like, that's That's why we start. We saw that other people were doing it, and that's how they started. So it's like, I think it's just this revolving revolution of just, hey, I love this thing. I want to talk about it. Hey, I like that you're talking about this thing that I like. Let's talk about it. I want to watch you. Like, that's just all it comes from. And whether I become successful as a YouTuber or not, I'm so happy that for the past 10 years of my life and longer, I've been given like a space where I can just be like, I fucking love Zelda. Like, it's so awesome. Forever. And I think like that is the coolest thing, to just be able to express and create. And I love editing and the process of a production. Like, this will be a big topic, I mean, obviously later in the year, but we've been talking about this idea with N10 for years and years and years, to make a movie, to make a big project. I had a day to sit down with these guys and make something, and I took that opportunity full force with everything I've learned in film school, every piece of editing knowledge and camera work that I ever knew, and like just to be able to do that and bring that to reality, on the budget being our plane ticket there and the gear we had available to us, or the charity stream. Like, these things are incredible things and opportunities that, like, charity is such an insane opportunity that only YouTube and content creation and this world can provide. It's something that I think has developed me so much as a person, and like the windows of what you can truly do as a person, as an individual, and has allowed me to be like a way more creative person. The way I think about the world and perceive it is so vastly affected by the YouTube that I grew up with and everything like that. So I think that's huge. Like, I think that's so important to an individual person. So
yeah, for sure. I think it's awesome that, you know, you had those passions and you were just able to like showcase it with the world. Like, that's the coolest thing. Is like, all the people you've met. Like, you know, neither of us were expecting the whole N10 concept to happen when we first started and uploaded videos.
No, not
but
at
like
all.
It leads to things, you know. And this is interesting because it leads to things, and you meet people and you make connections. That's kind of what I wanted to ask the next question being, because in our industry, I'm sure you can agree that that word is just plastered for our industry. Connections. Networking and connections.
It's like, it's the scariest thing, because like I grew up like so introverted. So introverted. But like, I just sat down and I was like, I have to just keep pushing myself every day to make this conversation. And I have really grown into my own. I think when you're young too, like, you're a lot more anxious. But like now I feel so much more confident in myself, and like have just like, YouTube is a huge thing that's pushed me to burst out of my bubble. Like, YouTube is like not even just like, I think there's elements where it's unhealthy for you, but I think there's so many things that it's benefited me. Like, I think there's been so many times where like I struggled with friends in high school, and like I was like, it's fine, because I know I'll always have friends here. Like, I'll always have like that network and communication with you guys, even if it wasn't for a place like high school at times, or like then being that like social aspect of like talking to someone that I have never seen face to face, and then making that transition to meeting them in person, which is like an incredible opportunity. Like, to believe that I met this guy on the internet 5 years ago, and in less than a year, I'm going to be standing as his best man at his wedding, is insane. That's a crazy thing. Like, that's like such a mind-blowing thing to even think about, is that can happen. Like your parents, when you're getting on the internet, like, I don't even know what parents are like these days now, but it's like, when I wanted to go on the internet, stranger danger. Don't be talking to anyone you don't know. I'm best friends with people I didn't know.
It had such a negative stereotype to it, because it was just so new, and that like older generation just didn't utilize it.
Ever happened.
Yeah. But, you know, nowadays we're able to use it as a tool. Like you said, like TikTok's taking over the short form content, just content in general. Like, it's almost impossible, especially now being a city person, a fellow city person, it's almost impossible to walk around the city and not see someone just dancing for TikTok. Like, it's
dancing
everywhere.
Or listening to TikTok, like, it's
everywhere. So,
and like, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
Let's hear the point. Let's hear the point.
I was just gonna say, like, just like you can't genuinely go anywhere without like the influence of social media. The way people talk now is so heavily influenced. But anyways, you were gonna ask the next thing.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we focused a lot on our content side of things, but you have a lot of pursuits after film school now in the more professional side of the whole, I guess you can call it content creation, film, broadcast. Just give us a little like summary of how that's all going, what some cool experiences you've had, some I'm only doing this for the paycheck kind of experiences you've had, like how's that all been going, especially, you know, being in Canada and with all you've said.
I think like I've been granted great opportunities. Like I work at a company. I wouldn't say that it's always ideal. It can be really stressful. It can be hard. You don't always love who you work with, but you also have to make like company with the people you work with. Like you have to. You go to a job, you just have to get along with those people. You don't really get to not agree, and so you have to kind of like learn to love and appreciate and work with them. That's always a struggle, but I do enjoy what I do. I am so thankful for the opportunities I have. But also on the other side of things, I bought myself a camera. I got a full full 4K, like practically cinema. It's not a cinema camera, but it's a high quality camera that shoots incredible video. And with that, I was like, I just want to develop my skills, and like that'll translate into stuff I do on YouTube and stuff that I do in industry. And so I spent like the whole summer doing photography and videography, ran around. I would spend nights like just like out till 3 or 4 in the morning, even hanging out with car people, because they are a perfect target for people who want their stuff like taking pictures of and videos and all that. Like they want that, which is cool. I got into the car scene because I was interested in Initial D and like started to learn a bit about cars, and now I'm like fully immersed. Like I can see a car from a mile away and be like, that is this car. This is who makes it. This is what you. I'm like I'm getting there. I'm getting more and more knowledge, but just been a really cool opportunity. I've got, like I said earlier, I get to work on a TV show and a feature film, which is incredible. Like that's crazy. Like that's things that you don't you only can really dream of, and getting to travel for work is incredible. But like as far as myself goes, just shooting a bunch of stuff constantly. Like I try to make it every day, like every other day even. I went to Seattle and I just had that camera glued to me and just ready to take pictures and video at all times. I think I shot like 3,000 pictures and videos.
There you go.
It's a lot. So it's also definitely that YouTuber brain that comes back to it.
Yeah.
Like I've done some cool gigs. Not a lot of like individual client work, but I now go by the name on for my media, my production stuff is Odd Jobs Media. If you're ever interested, some of you may have already seen and followed that stuff. But yeah, it's fun. I think I just love creating like that. It's very like my brain is the same when it's like comes to making YouTube videos, as though YouTube may not be my 100% core focus. I pay attention. I make stuff. I'm always planning stuff. I have probably way too many videos that I need to edit. Like I can off the top of my head think of 3 videos that need to be edited that I should be. But that's the other
coming
thing.
Soon.
I don't have infinite time. That's like the most frustrating thing is like as a content creator, like unless you're full time, it's so hard to do because like it's a full-time job. It's even more than a full-time job. Like YouTube is the same way and film is the same way. And when I'm working in both of those they want to kick each other in the face. When you're a YouTuber, you have to be like, and especially the way the YouTube's algorithm wants you to be, it's constant. You cannot not be thinking about content, and you cannot not be making content at practically any given moment.
Yeah.
And like when it comes to film, it's like the same thing. Like you're spending like 18, 20 hours on a set, and then you're beat. Like you're exhausted. And the same thing with YouTube. Like you experience burnout and the works. Like it's a never ending
creative
job.
blockades. Like that's always hard when you're just out of ideas, out of steam, you know.
But I think But I think with it though, the nicest thing is like that ability and that desire to create, I think is the most freeing thing in the world. That's like YouTube and like sharing that passion and creating something. There's no better freedom. There's no I better than ideal situation of I love what I do. They say love your job and you'll never work a day. It's true. It's definitely true.
Yup. And I think that's the really cool thing. That's the point I want to make is like, especially as like a young creative just now stepping into the industry, like you've dabbled in all that you have said, but like you've done other things too. Like you just did a music video. You've done, I know you've done video, like astrology, shooting the stars type stuff.
Astrophotography, yeah.
So it's just like you're in that point where it's really exciting, and sometimes, you know, you don't take a step back and realize that. Like you just have so many avenues you can explore in the industry with your YouTube and then your production company, but then also, you know, those little projects like the astrophotography, the music videos.
Those
the
projects
cars.
are crazy. Like you pick up a camera and you're willing to shoot anything, you'll find yourself either 3 a.m. in the middle of nowhere, and thank God for GPS because you might not get home. But hey, the stars are really pretty tonight, or you're hanging out the side of your friend's car to get a cool shot, and it's a little bit terrifying. But I don't suggest doing those things unless you're willing, unless you're really willing. But I think picking up a camera and like we carry a camera that is, the iPhones that come out now are capable of like creating looks that cinema cameras do.
Yeah.
You have such an incredible camera in your pocket at all times nowadays. If you have any desire to create or share what you do, whether it be your day-to-day life or make a movie, you can do it in the simplest forms. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things. You don't have to go to film school. There's really no need. It's a little embarrassing to say you go to film school sometimes.
This is true.
But it's like,
this is true.
If you just happen to know the right people, meet the right person, your aunt's, your mom's friend's aunt whose nephew is a videographer or a director, make that connection and use that connection. Then you might never have to go to film school. You may never have to go to school. Definitely suggest it because not really stable. It's not often a stable position. There's always some downside to it. So, but just I think that's like one of my biggest things is just I think like people should create. I think it's such an incredible form of self-expression. If you're not an artist by painting, like you're an artist by taking a picture. Like
for sure. And with all that being said, I feel like you've already kind of answered it and alluded to it, but if someone, you know, high schooler, middle schooler, they realize like they think they have a passion for creating, whether it's YouTube, film, whatever it is, what's just like some warnings or some advice that you would give this person now that you're deeper into, you know, the start of like a career in this industry? Just what is like things they have to know and should know and you wish that you knew?
I think something like I didn't take advantage of, and like this only really applies to me, but like I guess like something like this applies. The point applies. Is when I bought my first camera, I had to learn so much, and even going through film school, had still so much to learn about cameras and video editing and all that. But take every opportunity you can to learn about things. Like if someone is like, "Hey, like I'll teach you this," or like you are so capable of learning to do anything. Like as a human, if you are driven and you have a goal, you can do anything. I never needed to go to film school. Truly, I taught myself to edit from the ground up by making YouTube videos. And how I did that was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. And I would Google, if I didn't know how to do it on my own, I would Google the answers to fill in the gaps and learn so much knowledge by doing that. Like, all of these big N10 projects are always a situation of like, shit, like how do I do this thing? I have to challenge myself and push myself to create this thing. And like, I think like that always like you are actually always capable of creating something and doing something. And it's only yourself who's stopping you from doing it. Because if you have a goal in mind, like I want to make a movie, learn like, you can just Google, how do I make a movie? Or just do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't spend all this time overthinking it. And like, if you want to be a YouTuber, like, it's hard not to, but don't stress the numbers. Make things. Learn what you can. I think if I started from YouTube, like started over from scratch on YouTube, I could get so much further than I did in the beginning because of the knowledge I've learned and what I've done. And that's through a lot of trial and error, but we're in an era where all the resources are there. There's a lot of people who did the trial and error for you and now can just tell you directly. Like, you can do it. Like, if you want to be a content creator, if you want to be a filmmaker, if you want to be a doctor, the resources are there. You are so capable of doing it. And, like, always pursue something. Always be after something. Like, have these stupid far out dreams. Have this dumb idea that you think is cool and other people might not think is cool. Because if it's cool to you, that's, like, all that's important. Like, I have a weird passion. Like, I want to make one day, like, I want to travel and make a documentary about Mother 3. Like, I think that's so important. And, like, Nintendo, I want to make these things. I want to have an influence. I want to document. I want to learn to scuba dive so I can explore the Great Barrier Reef before we lose all of our coral in the world. Like, these are... If you have a dumb passion, you want to be a fucking astronaut? Be a damn astronaut. Learn to be an astronaut. Like, I may not be a marine biologist, but I can get a taste of that world through film. I can go and capture it. I can capture someone else's journey. Like, I think film is a really unique world like that because you can see so much more diversity in jobs and influences. Like, I've worked with a neurosurgeon. I've worked with lawyers and car people and like all different types of people in oil and gas, rodeo men. Like, I've seen so many things that I wouldn't have seen if I put myself on a set path. I'm going to be an architect. Yeah. And, like, life is always like that. But I don't know that I can think of another job that will take you to such a diverse influence of people aside from film. Like, I think it throws you into so much opportunity. But, yeah, pursue it. Be a YouTuber. It's not impossible. And there's no fucking harm in trying. There is no harm in trying anything. Within reason.
That's true.
Don't be dumb. Don't be saying shit on the internet that you shouldn't. Digital footprint's a thing. Think about that stuff. But, like, yeah, like, you can do anything if you want to. Just put your mind to it. Man.
No, I mean, I think that's very important, and you definitely touched upon it. Like, that's what I personally love most about this whole industry is, like, it just gives you so many adventures that sometimes you don't seek. Like, you're just, like you said, you're helping rodeo people, and then the next day you're on a helicopter. Like, you just never know. Like,
no,
it really is an industry that lets you just preview so much of, like, little
it
tastes,
is a really unique,
which is really awesome. You're always kind of like that middleman. It's like, at the end of the day, if you have a camera, it doesn't matter if you're going into a party or whatnot, like, you get a little free pass. They're gonna see the little camera and they're gonna be like, oh, you're a cameraman, come on in. Like, you know, like, it's just a really cool, fun industry. So I definitely think, like you had said, just go for it. Like, there's no better way to get experience than just working, learning yourself. And as we discussed earlier, you know, social media is at your disposal. YouTube that shit, Google it, like, you know, it's right there. However,
everyone's being an influencer now. TikTok makes everyone an influencer. You can be one too. It's possible.
Exactly. Now, I don't want this podcast to go super, super long, but I do have one final, I guess, closing question. People, obviously, if they're watching this, they know about Linktree. They know the passion for Mother and all the different franchises and what's coming for Linktree. But what's coming for Aiden? You did kind of touch upon, like, that Mother documentary. What's coming for Odd Jobs Media? What can we look forward to? Where can we see it? And what's kind of, I guess, like, one dream goal that you're like, this is crazy, but if I could accomplish it one day in the industry, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did touch on it. As far as, like, what you can see, I am pursuing photography and videography a lot in the car scene over the summer. I'm gonna have to find something to fill that, as everyone in the city has tucked away their cars out of fear of snow.
Yep.
So no cars for like 7 months, so I have to figure my shit out until then. So I'll be finding something on Odd Jobs Media. You can find that page on Instagram, Odd Jobs Media, as well as obviously like YouTube, Linktree. I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm always doing something. I went to Seattle and filmed something really cool. If you're an Animal Crossing fan, you'll love this. It's super, super unique. Definitely keep your eye out for that. And as well as like, as far as that big goal, like, I just want to be able to pursue a passion and a career that makes me happy through content creation, obviously. Like I said, that pipe dream to make that mother documentary, work on something like that, and tell such an amazing story. But I genuinely got to achieve one of my like major dreams, something we talked about through the N10 movie. So seriously, keep your eyes peeled. Already off just the start of what we've made for this thing. I am so excited to share it with you guys, and that's just more of that. That's really what I'm after. Just being able to accomplish something that someone would probably go, that seems like a challenge, or it's difficult, or it's hard, or no one else would do it. Like, why would you do that? So
yeah, I mean, if it's true that you only live once, like, why not? You never have to prove people wrong, but you can always prove to yourself that you can get that task done.
Always push yourself. I think you should live every day striving to be a better tomorrow. Like, just push yourself.
All right. So this podcast does not want to see us winning. First, Linktree had his webcam issues. Now, my PC decided a blue screen as we were on the final question about the outro. I do know, luckily, that our audio will be saved for this episode, so there will still be an episode. I can't guarantee the full visual, unfortunately, but you were in the middle of finishing up that last question about your future plans, dream, aspiration, and then we'll film a little outro just to finish this off properly, but you can pick it right back up wherever you remember.
Yeah, I was just talking about a lot of like what's kind of next. I'm very fortunate, like I was saying, like I feel like I've gotten to achieve a lot of things that like I would have dreamed of doing to even be in the film industry and to be content creating. Like, making a short film with N10 Boys is an incredible thing and a huge feat in my eyes, and it's something I'm incredibly proud to have been able to even do at all. So that's like just amazing. Just the network that I've created through you guys and the opportunities that hanging out with you guys has presented with me with is amazing. But further pursuits, like I said, like I want to travel and like do a huge like travel trip, like, and like have the whole thing documented on like a high level, or go and see like go and do like a whole documentary covering Nintendo, like the history of Nintendo and Mother and Zelda and stuff, and something like that. But a real pipe dream right now, and I like want to really try to make it happen. They just announced a Zelda movie. A Zelda movie. Now, I may have made a tweet kind of joking, but if I got to step onto the set of the Zelda movie, that would be insane. Let alone work on it. I would do anything to do that. Like, I wonder where they'll film it, first of all. I think probably Europe or something, but if they shoot in Canada, because it's got some fantasy-like scenery, it'd be incredible, and I would do anything to get on that opportunity. Just because I think, I've dreamed of a live-action Zelda since I was a kid. Like, it's a very exciting thing. It's nerve-wracking in a way, right? It's like your precious baby being taken by someone else. But yeah, like, to work on something like that, have anything to do with the production of that Zelda movie would be insane. Like, I would love to. I would do anything. So that's kind of the real pipe dream right now is Zelda movie.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a huge crossover of your just passion for film in general, obviously being Linktree, your passion for Zelda, for games, like, that's the ultimate crossover and, coming together point, so
yeah,
makes absolute sense for sure. But thank you so much for being the first pilot episode, guest of the Behind the Creator podcast. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate for all the technical issues, but we're still going to get some type of first episode up for sure. It was a very, very deep, enriching conversation about film and good old Canada. So I'm hoping that, people enjoy seeing the side of Aiden versus just goofy old Linkachu. They get to see a little bit of the person behind the username. So
For sure. Thank you for having
again,
me on. Thank you for letting me talk about my life and film and video and YouTube. So it was a good time, man. Thank you for having us.
Hell yeah, man. I'll see you again tomorrow in VC. But for everybody else, they can see you on Odd Jobs Media, Linkachu. Follow everything. And again, he's alluded to it multiple times, but do stay tuned for the N10 movie. This man directed, wrote the script, was cameraman. Actually, shout out Trent for also being a huge part of the cameraman.
Shout out to Trent.
Linkachu had a hand in training this man. Like, everything from the N10 movie, 95% of it stemmed from Linkachu. So, Aiden, make sure you guys check that out. And I'm so excited to see the final product. Obviously, I was there to be a part of it, but it's going to be just
very different
so magical
to
when you see the full thing. So, and on top of that, he's also editing it all. So this is all his baby, his movie, his project. So it's going to be really cool. Stay tuned for that and follow him on everything else. But that's it for us. We won't let this podcast go too long. But thank you, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Hell yeah. As always, stay radical. What's the usual?
What I say? Linkachu out. Is normally
Arrivederci.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. It's doing a little bit of that Duolingo. I see you. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching this first pilot episode. If you guys want an episode 2, let me know down below. Sorry for the tech issues, but we're going to get something up there. And yeah, hopefully see you for episode 2. Make sure to check out Linkachu on all this stuff, and just Aiden in general for all of his creative pursuits. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
See you.